let's talk about alien invasions now. But by a guy that's low-key lived up, but maybe not. How to resist an alien invasion. Okay, this probably will be a metaphor for something else, but I take this very seriously. For those of you who are new to this stream, and now you're going to think I LARP. I do not LARP. I believe that the socialist idea and the communist cause can be pitched from a tribal perspective, from a, one could even argue, nationalist perspective. But instead of hyper-focusing on individual ethnicities and nations, man-made differentiators of a single unitary species, we should concentrate on that very identity. Human Homo sapien identity, human Homo sapien supremacy, through whose lens we would fight reactionary movements that want to enshrine hierarchy, enshrine certain people as greater than others, not only on the basis of ethics, morality, and the pursuit of a better alternative to how we run society, but also as a means to reach our true destiny on our true soil for our true people. No, not Germans or Aryans or Italians or Russians or American whites, but our soil, planet Earth, our people, the Homo sapien, and our destiny, the motherfucking stars. And with that being said, I'm also a proud supporter of species-based racism, which we will not call racism. Racism makes no sense because all humans are the same. Okay? Bigotry towards species that are literally different than us would make sense because we cannot breed with them and we must compete for galactic resources. That's a joke. I don't think. If the aliens are cool, we should be cool with them. But the argument, the unitas mundi argument for true internationalism, true species-wide unification, is only one that can be achieved in a non-imperial way through the development of socialist thought and socialist systems and the active destruction of man-made concepts which in the long term harm the development of our species. The closest thing we have to true human nature, the proliferation of our species. Those sorts of concepts will have to be defeated. And a beautiful united planet created. So, jokes aside, I'm very serious about this. That is the ultimate goal of internationalism, literally a united planet. That is the ultimate goal of communism, a united planet. I will not stand for bigotry against aliens. Okay, fucking species traitor. So let's watch this, which is apparently about how to resist an alien invasion. Probably a metaphor for something. I wish it wasn't a metaphor. I hope it's not a metaphor because that would be an actually interesting conversation. Realizing that we have a lot more in common than we have that differentiates us. I unironically believe that in the same way tribalism is continuously utilized by reactionary movements. I might even write a fucking book on this. I'm being serious. The same way tribalism is utilized by reactionary movements to other fellow human beings because they do not belong to our ethnicity, nation, culture, way of life, perspective of what it is to be us. In the same way, it can be utilized for progressive causes by hyper-focusing and developing an unironic ideology of human belonging, species-first perspective. That sort of true original tribal instinct can be used for good. Belonging to what? Your species, bro. Your literal species. But if you cannot, understand that, then your brain has been, wrapped in too many layers of ideology. Your national belonging, your culture, your whatever, that blocks you away from relating to a fellow human because he might not have his brain wrapped in the same ideological patterns that you can call whatever culture, national culture, fucking identity of this or that category. Human supremacy would go crazy, and it would work. Because that is one of the main things us as socialists miss. We don't get to play on that heartstring. We don't get to play on the us versus them heartstring. Well, we would be able to by focusing on the true humanitarian aspect of socialism. Unification. What if these aliens are better than us in anything, in everything? Well, then we would lose. Yeah, we would have to hope that they do not want to colonize us or just kill us. Perhaps as well, humans would grasp our role as stewards of our own world rather than masters of it, of course. And that conversation will become very easy once we can actually leave the planet. Then we will stop the racism, bro. What racism? What the fuck are you talking about? An internationalist argument for the unification of a species is de facto anti-racist. Because it implies that human patriotism must be put as the first category of belonging that supersedes all other categories of belonging. Does not remove them. Sure, your ethnic, cultural way of life, etc., will continue to exist, but over a couple of centuries, it would become a massive melting pot of said cultures, which would then lead to a completely new and even greater planetary culture, if you want to call it that. This is low-key unavoidable unless we die because we destroy our planet or just continuous reactionary war. That is the direction we have to go in. The alternative is literally death and further balkanization of our planet, which is also death. Think aliens would fuck with Marx. What the fuck are you guys talking about? But we can play on it. See the demons who govern us. It is them who are our enemies and are clearly inhuman. That as well. No, you can. It's very simple. The premise of humanist internationalism defines every reactionary movement as inhuman. Therefore, not the way a patriotic human behaves. Because it leads to secession. It leads to splits. And therefore, we will not have to argue against reactionary nationalisms and racisms on the premise of it's unethical. We will argue on that premise, but we will also argue on the premise that it is unpatriotic, because it is. From the tribal perspective. Those of you who get what I want to say, get what I want to say. Others are still too ideologically young. God bless you. You'll get there eventually.
Imagine there's an alien military hegemon that has overtaken much of the world. It directly occupies a single continent where it eradicated many of its previous inhabitants and built a society on blood, shackles, and ashes. Within its borders, people go to work, consume entertainment, and argue about politics while being surveilled, disciplined, divided, and managed.
Yeah, I guess it's a metaphor for the current state of the world, which is fine.
Through a dense hierarchical order. Though even as they suffer, the subjects themselves are brainwashed by the hegemon's propaganda and bought by the benefits of its international exploits. Some may resent the system, but all endure it. beyond the borders of its most immediate occupants.
They would have to have evolved past their violence, assuming that trait existed in their species or have faced extinction. I think that trait would evolve on the boundaries of biodiversity, with abundance or scarcity having close relationship to free will and authoritarianism as necessity. Yeah. Yes, of course, abundance. It would need to be post-scarcity. True internationalism cannot be achieved without post-scarcity, because you have to dehumanize your fellow human in order to exploit them in a colonial manner. So we cannot have true internationalism, a true unified planet, without being post-scarcity, because one continent, one part of the world, one whatever, would de facto have to extract and exploit the resources of someone else. Even quote-unquote socialist society does not adjust to this, because it cannot equalize the playing field on a planetary level without at least centuries of effort. But during those centuries of effort, probably we could find a solution to scarcity. This is like very complex theory conversation. But to TLDR it, communists have to bet on technological advancement so high that we do post-scarcity. We have to bet on getting resources from space. We have to bet on 3D printing organic matter. We have to bet on the ability to turn whole parts of our planet basically into meta farms. But this is, again, conversations about shit that can happen in 2480 in the best fucking case scenario. If aliens don't have BlackRock by God's given will, we will make them one.
The armies and bases of this alien hegemon are spread across the planet. It faces little challenge to its military capacity, intervening and invading wherever it wishes. It dictates economic policy through its control over the world's financial system. Its voice alone determines the rules that do or do not apply. And the biosphere carries the costs. These alien rulers may look like you and me, but their humanity is only a useful facade to extract the cooperation of their human subjects. Across factories, farms, offices, schools, and prisons, both within their territory and beyond, the alien rulers rely on their human collaborators to maintain their order. Police, soldiers, bureaucrats, down to even the workers themselves. The hegemon is not all-powerful. It has lost before, but it presents an image that defies challenge, inside and outside its territory.
Resources are not scarce to begin with. All that we produce is in excess today under an imperialist capitalist system. That is correct. That is correct. But when we say post-scarcity, we mean having the same level of access to resources, if not greater, but without the exploitation. And I am sure you sound smart. You understand how much of a mega project that would be. Just the policing of exploitation would be, oh my fucking God, to destroy the previous conditions under which trade, resource extraction, transportation, logistics, payment for labor. Who gets the fees from processing? Oh my God. Who gets the benefits of processing? How do you differentiate between the benefits of extracting and the benefits of processing and then the benefits of logistics? Oh my fucking God. That would be difficult in a non-equalized planet, let's call it. Because someone at some point would take advantage of one of those linked chains and introduce a reactionary element to even a socialized economy. That's why the game is very big. And by saying post-scarcity, we mean we must find a way to streamline it by limiting the number of involved parties in getting resource from ground to mouth. And I'm not only talking about food here, obviously. That would be easy. And that is post-scarcity. When something can get from place A to a home without having to, quote-unquote, exploit anyone. That is what is implied by post-scarcity. Not that we don't have enough resources. Of course, we have enough resources for the current population times 5, probably. Not times 5, times 3, I think it was. I don't want to lie. But I don't think... By Chuck. Oh, Chuck. Where is Chuck going? Chuck, you sexy piece of shit. Where are you going? Bye, Chuck. Gotta board a flight. Safe flight, baby! Do not commit die, Chuck.
Of its order is so
You
powerful.
understand what I'm saying? When people say post-scarcity, they are not, at least Marxists that I fucking talked to and studied from. When we say post-scarcity, my friend, we do not say there is not enough resources for everyone. We are saying that we need to create a system in which, without exploitation, you can get all those resources processed and transported to everyone that might need them, to each according to their need.
That even as conditions worsen for the majority, they still fail to challenge its foundations. Instead, their frustrations fall upon scapegoats.
You're not as declining. This is an abundance mindset. Basically, yes.
And
I would love to be as reclined, my friend, and just say, hey, everybody should have access to everything. Wouldn't that be lovely? More stuff for everyone. And then, like, go to bed. You know, that old Zizek meme, like, I watched, what was it, V for Vendetta? Why does the movie finish exactly when it gets interesting? I want to see how the fuck they're going to do the revolution. Something like this. Oh, I want everyone to have abundant access to everything. Yeah, me too, bro. But how do we do that? And Ezra says, oh, we just keep capitalisming. Oh, okay. The thing that severely disproportionately gives certain people access to resources and others less is what we should use to properly and adequately distribute resources. That makes a lot of sense, bro. You ever have socialism for all on the stream someday? Why not? Sure.
Conspiracies, or they have simply accepted defeat. There are few true challengers to the alien order. Hope appears to be out of the question. Thankfully, the sci-fi scenario I'm describing has no resemblance to reality whatsoever. Still, as a thought experiment, putting ourselves in the shoes of those subject to such a state of affairs, how might we resist this alien invasion? When an authority appears to outman and outgun all resistance, one of the approaches that historical rebels have turned to is insurgency. But you might be wondering why this approach is seen as appropriate. Why not attempt reform? Or just withdraw from the system? The alien order is a totalizing system of economic, military, and ideological prowess. Reform presumes that there is something worth preserving within the system, and that the system is capable of self-correction. It presumes that the ruling class cares for moral appeals, although nobody in the world, nobody in history, has ever gotten their freedom by appealing to the moral sense of the people who are oppressing them. And attempts at withdrawal presume that spaces of autonomy will be sufficient, tolerated, or allowed to thrive. But these conditions do not exist under occupation. Insurgency, broadly understood, is organized, armed rebellion carried out against a more powerful authority by relying on popular support and using asymmetric tactics like guerrilla warfare for the sake of accomplishing political goals, like independence or regime change. Insurgency is not exclusively violent.
Yes, but an insurgency without a plan on replacing the previous mode of governance is a waste of time.
But it refuses
But okay.
to meet domination on the losing terms set by the dominant power. This doesn't make insurgency inherently virtuous, nor does it guarantee success. But it explains why insurgency is the path of resistance often taken when all else is foreclosed. Despite being outmatched militarily, there are 7 unique advantages to insurgency. Insurgents are far more mobile than conventional militaries. They're not bound to a static territory that can be easily targeted. Insurgencies are often factionally diverse, made up of shifting and situational alliances between autonomous groups. Since insurgents don't aim to take and permanently hold territory, they're far more unpredictable compared to conventional armies. Insurgents tend to take the initiative when it comes to their battles, deciding when and where they fight to maximize their advantage, to inflict losses without incurring them. Surprise is a major advantage when insurgents go on the offensive, but defense is just as vital, hence the importance of camouflage. And camouflage is best accomplished when insurgents have civilian sympathy, which also brings the intelligence, resources, shelter, and legitimacy that keeps insurgencies alive. Insurgents may be nationalist, religious, left-wing, or right-wing. Some insurgents aim to strike fear, others hope to inspire sympathy. Some insurgents may be organized as networked yet autonomous cells, others are more heavily regimented. Some insurgents are demonized, other times they are romanticized, though it all depends on who you ask. I think neither approach is helpful if our goal is to understand them. Across vastly different contexts, from China to Indonesia to Cuba to Brazil, insurgent theorists arrived at similar conclusions regarding the fundamentals of guerrilla struggle. Mao Zedong, Abdul Haris Nasution.
We hit the fourth hour, the fourth, the fourth tower has fallen. Just a slight reminder to support the show, and that more importantly, especially in these late Monday hours, why don't you want to do some ethical gamba, 5 subs and more, and you can potentially double them. Only place on Twitch where you can play ethical, legal, non-TOS breaking, spinning of the lucky wheel in the Yugopnik casino. You know what to do if you want. Right now, chat is winning 2-1. Let's have some fun, chat, and let's get some people some fucking subscriptions. Be it you win, you lose, we get some people subscriptions. It's always fun.
Che Guevara and Carlos Marighella each made internationally renowned contributions to the subject of guerrilla warfare. Though I'm neither a Marxist-Leninist nor a nationalist, their work is still worth examining critically. All 4 agree that armed action should serve a political struggle. All 4 insist that guerrillas must be rooted into population and maintain popular support, without which they are mere bandits. Each author stresses the value of flexibility, surprise, and the wise use of terrain and time. But the actual role of guerrilla warfare was seen slightly differently between these thinkers, due to their unique contexts. Nasution and Mao both saw guerrilla warfare as an integrated element in a broader military strategy that included conventional warfare. Guevara saw guerrilla warfare as a stage that would lead...
Yes, we all know, I mean, most of you should know this, especially the gamblers. You adapt to the conditions of your struggle. And the way you conduct warfare can massively vary from the conditions in which you try to use it.
Lead to conventional warfare.
Jeez, my brain started fucking shorting out.
He also granted guerrillas a catalytic role in the struggle, arguing that rather than waiting for the conditions to be right, guerrilla warfare with popular support could create the conditions for revolution. He pursued this by pairing military action with political education, and Marighella saw guerrilla action as the best long-term strategy for weakening the military dictatorship he lived under in Brazil and shaping conditions toward mass revolution. Nasution and Mao succeeded in their aims. Guevara both succeeded in Cuba and failed in Congo and Bolivia over the course of his life. Marighella's efforts were crushed by the military dictatorship, which endured for 16 years after his assassination. Even so, it's difficult to determine when and where insurgencies and guerrilla tactics will succeed, because conditions always vary considerably. These men all fought at different moments in history in different parts of the world, while dealing with different resources, navigating different geographies, and being immersed in different cultural contexts. Since their time, governments have only gotten better at surveillance, containment, and counterinsurgency. Remember, the scenario I've created is not the Cold War era 20th century, it's the present day. The rise of drone warfare alone has significantly transformed the combat terrain. You can't expect to copy the same forms under similar conditions and expect the same results. And do we even want the same results? The shape of the struggle to overthrow an alien occupation will depend on whether your radical ambitions end at replacing their rule with another government or creating the conditions that make government entirely obsolete. The former goal, which comes with its own complications and pitfalls, is still certainly much easier to achieve than the latter.
I wish it was. The latter survives for 3 days. And then it is co-opted by something that turns it into a government. We just probably disagree on what we call a government, right?
Anarchists would know a thing or two about the difficulty of actually achieving the idea. But the failure to achieve anarchy or win particular military moments does not...
The destruction of the state without the co-opting of its mechanisms would allow someone else to co-opt it and utilize it against the revolutionary movement. This is not an opinion, this is a historic fact. Unfortunately. Fuck the state. I don't want the state. Fuck the man. I don't want to become the man. We all agree on this, but unfortunately, it is a stick that we must learn how to carry and how to use and how to shape into a knife that will serve the working masses, because otherwise it will be shaped into an axe wrapped in the barbed wire of fascism. Thank you very much, Clone Sister. Very nice to see you. Thank you for the 8 months.
He doomed the project to the dustbins of history. It took many attempts before humans achieved flight, let alone put a man on the moon. Capitalism, like feudalism before it, was not established in one fell swoop. Many of the things that are so ubiquitous now, whether technological or political, were barely a thought generations ago. Anarchists are not resigned to what already exists. The goal, as radicals, is to transform society into something completely new. Sure, inspiration may be drawn from moments in the past, but the options are not limited to what has already existed. But I digress. Let's get back to how insurgencies could organize against this hypothetical alien occupation. What are some of the things that the resistance will need to consider? Any movement that wants to fight to win will have to let go of the mindset that defeat is inevitable. Resistance is not futile. Before any physical terrain can be taken, the psychological terrain must be reclaimed. People have to break free from the ideological conditioning of capitalism, statism, patriarchy, and all the other packages of propaganda that legitimize the alien occupation and its tendrils of control as natural and eternal. And while reclaiming that psychological terrain, the movement will necessarily reclaim the social terrain, as people share their analysis of the problems, build trust in each other, develop adaptable organizations, and work together to find solutions. Networks of hardened revolutionaries capable of launching insurgency don't emerge overnight. They're cultivated slowly, through joint problem-solving projects, martial and survival skill exchanges, and education drives that expand the abilities and strengthen the resolve of those involved to seek their freedom. Insurgents must learn how to avoid capture, free captives, collect intelligence, establish blockades, sabotage alien capital, engage in battles, and communicate covertly. They must develop endurance to remain a problem for power in the long term. If these insurgents are of an anarchist persuasion, they will need to understand the distinction between leadership and authority, and between solidarity and obedience, as I've already explored on this channel, to avoid reproducing the very system they are aiming to fight. Any serious challenge to such an entrenched order must assume repression, carried out by the maintenance staff of the alien occupation. This is people getting slammed on the ground, thrown into prisons, maimed by bludgeons, or killed by bullets. It's not enough to...
Or blown the fuck out of the sky. An insurgency can... Sure, you can use an insurgency to take a neighborhood. This type of insurgency to take over a neighborhood, maybe even a city, and like 3 villages around it. And then the alien species or the human collaborators will stop using the police against you and just drop some bombs on you. And then that ends. Anyways, chat. Today was a great stream. I will see you motherfucking tomorrow, baby. That was a good video, though. God bless. I like my anarchists. As I always say, I wish the anarchists were correct. I wish upon all anarchists to be correct. Now I will send you to a fellow chatter, Lesbian Hot Sauce. Very nice to see Hot Sauce streaming. Send my love. Give them millions of motherfucking follows. Okay? Thank you to all the Oilers, all the chatters. Let me read it out. Thank you to Chris Con, number 1. Chuck Sunset, number 2. I don't think so. Number 3. Sue Bucket, number 4. Glitch Greens, number 5. Mary Jane at the 6. Aurora at the 7. Sky Blue on the 8. Random on the 9. And Tiny Zucchini, I love that name, on the 10. Thank you to everybody that followed. If you're new here and you didn't press that button, please do. It costs nothing. Thank you to my producer. Thank you to my mods. The best fucking team on planet Earth, I swear to God, and the best community on planet Earth. Sometimes I wish you were more toxic so I can actually fight you. I hear that's popular on other streams, but there's nothing for me to shout at you about. I need to better develop my utilizing tribalism as a unitary factor, a unifying factor amongst one species. A little bit better because some of you don't get it, but I'll make it palatable. And I'll see you tomorrow. Today was fucking sick. Buy merch. Look, it's Che Guevara. And he's smoking a cigar. It's fucking sick. It says Vince Ramos. Bye! Love you.